Darden going to join us?
Maybe not. Eventually. We can start now.
All right, Madam Reporter, you ready? All right, Deputy Magner, let's have the jurors, please.
Your Honor, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
hold on.
Wait. Apparently, the items that I was looking for to introduce into evidence with Detective Lange have been returned now. What I'd like to do, if you, with the court's permission, is to open these boxes to determine where the item is that I wanted to introduce with Detective Lange on the record, because these items did not come back to us from the defense in the same condition that they were sent to the defense by us. So I don't have an inventory for each envelope and box to indicate what's inside.
Well, I would propose that we do that then, that we do the inspection at the noon hour, since it appears to me that Mr. Cochran is just getting warmed up.
All the more reason to do it now, Your Honor. Break his stride.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I won't touch that straight line. All right, how about if we do that, we can inventory the box on the record, and then if you can inventory the box, if necessary, we put something on the record.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
In that case,
What we can do is you can have the box, have the courier give the box to the clerk, who will accept it in sealed condition, then come back at noon and we'll see what's there.
thank you. That way he doesn't have to stay here for it.
Right,
I
correct.
appreciate that. And let the record reflect that he is. Could you identify yourself for the record, sir?
Investigator Salvino.
All right.
Gene Salvino. Thank you.
Would you give that, please, to Mrs. Robertson, and she will maintain custody of the box. Excuse me, counsel, can we have it quiet? The court reporter's trying to write this down.
Could we describe what's being handed over to the clerk right now?
Appears to be a sealed box and a manila envelope, 2 manila envelopes.
One smaller with red tape and one larger with blue tape and red tape.
Yes. Noted, 3 items. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Deputy Magno, let's have the jury, please. Let the record reflect that all parties are again present. We've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Detective Tom Lange is still on the witness stand on cross-examination by Mr. Cochran. Good morning again, Detective Lange.
Morning, Your Honor.
You're reminded you're still under oath. And Mr. Cochran, good morning, sir. You may continue.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Detective Lange, so that we're clear, between the period of June 3rd and July 3rd, there was no police presence at Bundy on a regular basis to guard that location. Isn't that correct?
Restate your question. I think you got the dates wrong.
Between the dates, I'm sorry, Your Honor, of June 13th, 1994 at about 3:45 in the afternoon, and July 3rd, 1994, there was no police presence at the Bundy location. Is that correct?
Overruled.
There was no permanent police at that location. I believe they were called to that location on several times.
All right. And they were called that location on several occasions to chase away individuals who would... I'm asking him... I'm in the process of asking the question, Your Honor.
You can ask him if he has personal knowledge of these items.
Are you aware of calls made to that location for police assistance because of the crowds and individuals who were coming to that location?
I had heard of those things happening through the media. I wasn't there. Don't have personal knowledge of it.
All right. Well, you've seen on the media that there were hundreds and hundreds of people in and around that location after June 13th. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Are you aware of any specific police calls that were made regarding specific individuals in and around the Bundy location after the crime perimeter was taken down at about 3:45 on June 13th, 1994?
I don't recall any specific incidents.
Would it refresh your recollection to see any particular documents in that regard?
If that occurred, it certainly may, yes.
May I be permitted, Your Honor, to ask?
You may. Overruled at this point. He can show him to see if it refreshes his recollection. Issue is still personal knowledge and still 352, though.
I'd like to place this before you and ask you to read this to yourself, Detective Lange. I want you to read this document here, and I want you to look at these numbers here, and I'll ask you some questions about it.
Okay.
Have you read the particular area that I directed you to?
Yes.
And has the review of this particular document refresh your recollection regarding any police calls to the location 875 South Bundy?
No.
Said no.
All right. Thank you, sir. At any rate, how did you determine that there had been no blood samples collected near the rear gate area of Bundy after June 13th, 1994? How did you make that determination?
The determination was made as I approached the rear gate and entered on that date. I hadn't been to the rear gate prior to that to examine it. I really felt I didn't have any reason to. As I walked through the gate, myself and others observed what appeared to be the blood smear that was observed earlier on the 13th.
So you saw it on July 3rd, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
And hadn't you met with the criminalists at any time between June 13th and July 3rd?
I don't believe so.
So you hadn't met with either Fung or Mazzola to discuss their work?
To discuss their work, no.
Had you read any reports from Fung or Mazzola between the dates of June 13th and July 3rd?
No.
And when you were at the scene on July 3rd, I presume from what you're saying, you were there in the company of some other officers, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were there before Fung was called as depicted in the photograph that we showed just before the break, is that correct?
We were doing a district attorney walkthrough, and I don't recall...
Can you answer that question? Were you there
Well,
before Fung was there?
I don't know.
Well, if you didn't, at the time you arrived there and you were walking through at that point, no blood samples have been collected, right, on July 3rd at that point?
At the time of my arrival, that's correct.
Right, because you didn't know. You thought they'd already been taken, right?
Yes.
All right. So it was after that that the blood samples, if ever, were taken. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember whether you called Fung to come to the scene? Or was he out there? Or was he due out there? What happened?
I don't recall just how that happened. I may have that written somewhere.
All right. What time of day was it that Fung came to the scene on July 3rd, 1994?
I don't recall. I think it was perhaps late in the morning.
And before that time, did you ever read the property report to determine whether or not these stains allegedly from the rear gate had been booked?
I don't recall seeing the property report prior to then.
All right. Now, when Fung came out, whenever he arrived, were you still present at that time?
Yes.
And who came with him, if anyone?
I believe he might have been by himself, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Do you have any notes which refresh your recollection?
It may be in my notes.
Well, you may be here after lunch, so can you check your notes after lunch so we won't delay?
Yes, I will.
All right, and let us know whether he came with anyone else. Who were you with at that time?
I believe I arrived alone.
All right, and you met some other people out there?
Yes.
Was Van Adder there that day?
I don't recall if he was there or not.
And you said there was some kind of a DA's walkthrough?
Yes.
That means district attorney's walkthrough?
Yes.
Were any of the DAs to my immediate right out at that scene on that particular day?
Yes.
Was it a female?
Yes.
Is that Miss Marsha Clark there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Darden wasn't there, was he?
No.
Any other DA there along with Marsha Clark?
Mr. Hodgman.
So was Marsha Clark and Bill Hodgman?
Yes.
Did you get there first?
I think I did.
You were the first one there at the scene?
I believe I was.
And who
One of
arrived
the
after?
first.
Who arrived next after you?
I don't want to be inaccurate about this. I don't recall the specifics as far as who arrived when.
All right, now I presume there was no log that day.
Well, there may have been a log as to who was there.
Where is the log?
Well, it would be in my murder book.
Were you planning to have lunch today? Because I might impinge upon that a little bit. Can you check that log for us all over the lunch hour?
Make a list and I'll do it.
We'll make a list of the things we'd like to have you take a look at over the lunch hour. Now, Now, with regard to your testimony yesterday, you indicated to us that you had noticed some blood splatters or some blood spots on the back of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And if we can have a photograph. I don't know if you want to cut the feed on this or not, but do you
Yes.
recall this particular photograph?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
That's well, Your Honor. Can you see, you can put on the big screen. This Detective Lange is the back of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson. On that back, you see those blood spots or spatters?
Yes.
And did you direct the coroner's office to do something with regard to those particular blood spots and spatters?
I pointed those out to the investigator prior to the removal of the victim, yes.
And that was to Miss Radcliffe?
That's correct.
And when you say you pointed them out, you just said, take a look at these?
Something to that effect.
All right. Now, were you ever able to ascertain whether or not those blood spots and or spatters were ever collected by the coroner's office or by the criminalist or anyone and preserved and tested to determine whose blood that was on her back?
They wouldn't have been collected by our criminalists there. Normally that would be done at the coroner's office, and
All right.
my information is that it was not done.
It was not done?
Yes.
You pointed out and it was not done?
Yes.
Why wasn't it done? Well, I think if he knows.
When I spoke with the coroner's criminalist, he stated to me that
Do you know of your personal knowledge why that wasn't done, other than what somebody told you?
no, Your Honor.
Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you agree that would be important to determine whose blood that was on her back?
I felt it might be important, yes.
And in the course of your investigation, in an effort for you to determine who the perpetrators or perpetrator was, that would be a key factor if that was the perpetrator's or perpetrator's blood. Isn't that correct?
It may or may not be, but I would like to have had the blood.
As an investigator, you want to get as many facts as you can. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
You don't want to rush to judgment in these things, do you?
certainly not.
So you want to gather all the facts that you possibly can. Is that correct?
Yes,
And are you telling us that that blood was never examined or collected in the coroner's office? Is that correct?
that's my information, yes.
And who did you talk to in the coroner's office who gave you an explanation as to why they didn't collect that blood?
Be a Mr. Mahaney.
Spell that for the.
Mahaney.
Can you spell that for us?
I believe it's Mahaney.
And what was the date of your conversation with Mr. Mahaney?
I don't recall. It was sometime after I got the coroner's criminalist report.
And when was that?
I don't recall. This was probably several months ago.
Several months ago?
Yes,
So from the time you last saw that photograph that we just depicted on the screen for the jury, or that you saw that scene on June 13th, is that correct?
yes,
And it wasn't until several months ago that you found out that they had not collected the blood that was on her back?
yes,
And then did you institute a call to Mr. Mahaney?
yes.
What's his title in the coroner's office?
He's a criminalist.
They have criminalists within the coroner's office,
Yes,
in addition to the doctors?
yes,
Now, the doctor who did the autopsies in this case is Dr. Golden, G-O-L-D-I-N, right?
yes,
And Mahaney was the criminalist assigned to this particular case?
I believe he was a criminalist on duty when the bodies arrived. I don't know that they assigned criminalists to particular cases.
So he'd be the one working to deal with this particular body, is that correct?
He was at this particular time, yes.
All right. And so when you talked to him, give us a little clearer date as to when you talked to Mahaney about their failure to collect these spots and examine them. What date was that?
Again, I don't recall. I'd have to look at the coroner's report and perhaps go from there.
And again, over the lunch hour, can you look at that for us?
Put it on the list.
All right, we'll try to get that list for us. The conversation that you had, did you have more than one conversation with Mahaney at all? Or just one?
Regarding this, I believe it was just one.
Did you write a report regarding that?
No.
And you never talked to anybody else in the coroner's office regarding it?
I believe I did.
And who else did you talk to about this?
I believe I had a discussion with Dr. Lakshmanan.
And he is the coroner.
Yes,
Was that after your conversation with Mahaney?
yes.
And was that in the nature of a complaint to Dr. Lakshmanan?
No, it was in the nature of a general conversation that I had with him.
Now, were you able to ascertain of your own knowledge that this blood spot, the blood spots on Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's back, had been washed off at the coroner's office? Were you able to ascertain that?
From my own knowledge?
Yes, of your own knowledge.
No.
Well, now, you and Van Adder attended the post or the autopsy of these two bodies, isn't that correct?
Yes.
What date was that?
I believe that was on the 14th of June.
Okay, June 14th. That would have been then on a Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you went over there, you saw these bodies. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
At that time, had the bodies been washed and prepped?
When we first arrived, I believe they had been at the time of autopsy, certainly.
All right, they've been washed and prepped. And so
Yes.
at that time, did you ask the coroner, Dr. Golden, and say, look, did you preserve that blood that was on the back? Did you ask that question?
That wouldn't have been asked of Dr. Golden, no.
All right. Did you ask Mahaney or any criminalists on duty that day, had they preserved it?
I didn't talk to a criminalist that day.
All right. Now, as a seasoned homicide investigator, when you attend an autopsy, you're there to observe and to point out certain things to the doctor who may not know all the facts. Isn't that correct?
That's one of the things we do, yes.
And you've agreed with me yesterday that, and every day, that in determining the time of death in a homicide case, it's oftentimes very important. Isn't that correct?
Certainly.
And now, you were present during the autopsy. Let's take first the autopsy of Mr. Cole Brown Simpson. You were present during that autopsy.
Yes.
How long did that autopsy take, sir?
I don't recall how long. I didn't time it.
All right. Your best estimate, sir.
There's an examination, of course,
Yes, sir.
2 examinations prior to autopsy by the criminalist and by the pathologist that I wasn't present for. This is part of the autopsy procedure.
Well, let's take the part when you were present, the part that you dealt with, sir.
Okay, that would be the actual autopsy. Perhaps 2 hours.
Perhaps 2
It's
hours.
very difficult for me to.
Okay, and we're talking about Mr. Cole Brown Simpson's
Yes.
portion. All right. So that the examination by the criminalist or whatever would have been conducted at a time before you got there, is that correct?
Yes.
And when you got there, did you ask them? Did you ask the criminalist on duty that day if he'd done anything regarding these blood splatters on the back?
Not that day, no.
All right. It wasn't until 1995 that you asked that question. Did you say this year?
No, it was several months ago after I received the criminalist report of blood that he had taken from the body.
Several months ago, and that would have been what month?
Again, I'd have to look at
All right,
that
you're gonna
report.
let us know that.
That's on the list.
At lunchtime. All right, now, in your role there at the scene, did you instruct the coroner, Dr. Golden, to save the stomach contents for Mr. Cole Brown Simpson so that we could use those stomach contents to extrapolate backwards with regard to the digestive process in seeking to determine the time of death?
Counsel's testifying, assumes facts not in evidence at this point.
Okay, Your Honor, may I seek to restate that in a way that doesn't do that?
Please.
Did you ask the coroner to save the stomach contents of Mr. Cole Brown Simpson?
No.
Objection, again, Your Honor, objection, that's not this witness.
Oh, yes.
Overruled.
That says she's wrong.
Outside the scope of his
Overruled.
expertise and
All
authority.
right. You didn't ask the coroner to save, right?
No.
Wouldn't you have liked to have the stomach contents and not have them thrown away?
Assumes facts not in evidence.
Okay. Were the stomach contents preserved in this case?
Objections is outside the scope.
You know, I can make him my own witness for this question, Your Honor. then. I'll make him my own witness for this.
Overruled.
All right. Okay. Were the stomach contents of Nicole Brown Simpson preserved in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, but counsel can call him his own case in chief. This is beyond the scope of
Your
the
Honor,
fact.
Your Honor, you ruled on this.
Overruled.
And the coroner will be testifying.
Overruled.
The contents were examined by Dr. Golden.
Were they preserved,
as-
sir? Is the question.
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know to this date whether or not the stomach contents were preserved, sir?
I have heard that they were not preserved, but
Have you checked?
no.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
No, can the witness be allowed to finish the answer, please?
Well, I want you to finish your answer, so if you have something more to say, please say it.
I'm completed.
Okay. As the investigating officer in this case, have you checked to determine whether or not the stomach contents of Nicole Brown Simpson were preserved in this case so they can be examined?
I have not personally checked, but I have knowledge that they were destroyed.
All right. Is that something you asked the coroner to do?
To destroy the stomach
Yes.
contents?
Yes.
No.
That's something you wanted done?
No.
With regard to a rape kit analysis, did you ask the coroner to perform a rape kit analysis on the body of Nicole Brown Simpson?
No.
Was that done?
Not to my knowledge.
Now, did you think that it might be helpful to make that determination regarding the rape kit analysis? And you answer that yes or no.
No.
What is a rape kit analysis?
Rape kit analysis would include swabs from the vaginal area, perhaps the anal area if there's any evidence of that, perhaps the mouth.
Now, when you arrived at the location of Bundy, you've described for us that you saw candles burning in the living room, is that correct?
Yes.
And what time was this these candles were burning at that point?
Well, I arrived at 4:25 a.m., so I'm approximating 10, 15 minutes after that.
So between 4:25, let's say by 4:40 or thereabouts, the candles were burning. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you find out from talking to the other officers those candles had been burning since midnight or 12:15 or thereabouts?
Yes.
And when you went upstairs in the bedroom, how many candles did you find burning?
I don't recall exactly. I believe there were 2 or 3 or 4 in the bedroom and perhaps 2 or 3 in the bathroom.
And they were all still burning?
Yes.
So would you say there were at least 9 candles altogether burning at this point?
Yes.
And you were aware, were you not, these candles had been burning since at least 12:15, the arrival of Officer Risky, right?
Yes.
By the way, did you, in the course of your investigation, direct that any photographs or pictures be taken of these burning candles?
No.
Did it ever occur to you that we might look at the candles and determine the state of their burning at a certain particular period of time and extrapolate backwards, determine when they may have been lit? Did it occur to you ever?
Certainly not. I see no way to do that.
You see no way to do that?
That's
How
correct.
large were these candles?
Candles were various widths and sizes and lengths. They were all different.
All right. Do we have any photograph anywhere of these candles burning?
No, not that I know of.
When you arrived inside the house, you also heard some music playing, isn't that correct?
It seems to me there was music, yes.
And that music was emanating from what room?
It was somewhere in the living room area.
Did you ever ascertain whether or not that was a CD playing or what was playing?
No.
You know if it was an FM station?
No.
What kind of music did you hear?
It seemed to me to be a new wave type music, instrumentals.
New wave type?
Well, modern type instrumentals.
Kind of soft, romantic kind of thing?
I wouldn't say romantic. It's just in the back of my mind I recall this, and I can't be much more specific than to say it seemed to recall a new wave type of music.
Did you ever go over to a stereo or a component box or something and determine whether this was an FM or a CD or a tape or whatever?
No.
Did anybody in your direction ever do that?
Not under my direction, no.
There was bath water in the master bedroom, in the bathtub, is that right?
I observed no bath water in the bathroom.
You never observed bath water?
That's correct.
And do you remember looking in the bathtub?
Yes.
And there was no bath water in the bathtub?
There were candles on the tub, but there was no water in the tub.
If other officers have testified there was bath water in the bathtub, do you think one of them let that bath water out before you came?
Did they leave it out? No, but I believe it drained.
All right, so you have no doubt that at some time earlier there was bath water in the bathtub.
That's the testimony of the arriving officer, that he saw bath water. I didn't see any.
All right, you're talking about Risky.
Yes.
All right, you just didn't see it when you got there.
There was none in there when I got there.
All right. Now, with regard to the bed, you described the bed was made but rumpled. In other words, the covers were rumpled in the center of the bed. Is that correct?
Something like that, yes.
And are there any pictures or photographs taken of any of this interior area at all?
Of the bedroom?
Yes, of the bedroom.
No.
Any pictures taken of any of those candles or the bathtub at all?
No.
Any pictures taken of the stereo or component system where this music was emanating from?
No.
And the television was on in the bedroom also upstairs, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you showed us the other day, you took some pictures of a Ferrari in the garage as you were coming inside the house. But once you got inside the house by that banister, did you take any pictures of the ice cream cup that was there?
No.
We have no pictures to this date of that ice cream cup and the state of the ice cream at that point when you arrived?
It wouldn't be accurate for me to say that. I believe that in that overall shot, if one looks, they'll see what appears to be a small ice cream cup in the blow-up.
You mean the picture, let me approach if I can. are you talking about from People's Exhibit 74? Is that the one taken from the garage area of the Ferrari? Is this the one you're talking about?
This is a little darker. This is the area, though, but when I viewed a photo on the stand the other day, it appeared to possible outline of an ice cream cup here where it would normally have been on the banister. But there were no photographs taken close up.
And why was that? Why didn't you do that?
I felt no reason to do that. It was not part of my crime scene. I wanted to document it, the state that it was first observed. I saw no reason to take a photograph of melted ice cream.
All right, now, of course, it was melted by 4:25, but you're aware, are you not, that when Officer Risky first saw it at 12:35 or 12:40, it was melting and was not melted at that point. You're aware of that, is that correct?
I believe his description was melting, yes.
Right, you're aware of that.
Yes.
And wouldn't the best evidence of that have been for us to be able to look at that photograph of that Ben and Jerry's cup with a photograph or a picture having been taken that night?
Well, there was no photographer there that night with Officer Risky, and as far as best evidence, I'd never considered it evidence at all.
All right.
That's why it wasn't photographed or other things were done with it.
And as the investigator in this case, you don't always do everything you're supposed to do you? You make mistakes, don't you?
Certainly.
All right. None of us are perfect, are they?
That's correct.
All right. Now, and with regard to this ice cream cup, it was a Ben and Jerry's ice cream cup, was it?
Yes.
Now, you did take some photographs, or a photograph or two, of a knife on the kitchen, some marble or corian or whatever, granite. Is that right?
Countertop, yes.
Countertop. What date was that, those photographs taken?
That was taken on June 13th.
By this photograph, by the photographer Rokar?
I believe that would have been Rokar, yes.
All right. And so that we're clear, that knife has been tested under your direction, isn't that correct?
Yes,
There's no blood found on that knife, right?
that's correct.
No fingerprints of Mr. Simpson found on that knife, is that correct?
That's correct.
And there was a lot of testimony yesterday about fingerprints, and you had that area dusted for prints inside and out, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Tell us again briefly what areas, if any, you had dusted for prints.
Inside and out?
Inside and out.
On the outside of the location, I had the fenced, runged fence fingerprinted around the immediate crime scene, around the victims. The front area, the mailbox, the intercom system, the gate, the stationary gate, the fence around the victims, as well as the railing.
May I stop you at that point? Did you have the front gate, both the inside, where one would have to come down from the house and let someone in, and the latch and the outside? Do you have both those fingerprinted also?
Yes,
Dusted for prints?
the entire gate.
All right, the entire gate was dusted?
Yes,
And the call box outside, was that dusted?
yes.
Okay, please proceed, I'm sorry.
The railing leading along the north side of the walkway all the way to the rear gate, the two vehicles parked at the rear, one in the garage, and the black Grand Cherokee in the driveway, the front door, the moldings on either side of the front door, the bathroom on the first level as you would walk in with the moldings around it, the telephones throughout the residence.
Did you have the telephone in the living room area dusted for prints specifically?
There was a phone in the kitchen area, I believe.
All right.
Yes.
Well, do you recall one also in the living room area?
There may have been. I don't recall.
With regard to the phone in the kitchen area, I'd like to place 1022 on the Elmo and show it to Williams.
All right, 1022.
1022. Can you see if we can make it a little clearer? Can you see that, what's depicted there, and it's apparently a speed dialer component of a phone, supposedly in the kitchen of the Bundy residence. Do you remember seeing a phone in that condition with the names by the speed dialer of Daddy, Dita, Dash, Opa, Cora, Pam, or Robin? Robin and Pam.
I can't make them out, but yes, I recall seeing that.
You remember seeing that there that particular night?
Yes.
And that's a fair portrayal of how that phone in the kitchen appeared that particular night or the date of June 13th, 1994?
I don't know. I don't recall seeing it like that.
You remember seeing the names on there, did you not?
I remember seeing some names, and I believe Daddy was the top one.
All right. Well, by the way, did you take any photographs of that yourself? Do you have any photographs?
No,
So you have none, right?
that's correct.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not there was a phone anywhere in the living room area or when you first walked in the house?
Once again, there may have been.
All right.
I don't have a specific recollection of that.
And you saw the testimony of Officer Risky, did you not?
I saw parts of it.
All right. And with regard to if there was such a phone in the living room area, you would have had that dusted also, would you not have?
My instructions were for all phones.
All right.
Yes.
Well, you could continue on with what you had dusted in the interior if you had not completed it.
The knife subsequent to the examination for blood. The banister railing going up the front stairwell all the way to the top and across towards the main bedroom. Various moldings in the upstairs area. The bed in the bedroom, the posts on the bed, the television set, I believe around the bathtub off the master bedroom, the counters up in that area. There was a pack of cigarettes that I believe was on the floor of the bathroom that was printed. There may have been other areas that they did. Basically, my instructions were to do everything that had the possibility of containing prints.
So this was a thorough job that you wanted to have done to try to determine latent prints, is that correct?
I certainly wanted every area covered where someone might have left prints, yes.
Did you have the ice cream cup dusted at all?
No.
And what is a latent print, officer?
Latent print is a fingerprint that's not readily observable to the naked eye.
And so in order to bring such a print up, is there some kind of a powder that's used by the print
Yes.
technicians to determine whether or not they can get a print from a particular subject or object?
That's correct.
And in this case, you had a very thorough dusting done of the residence there at Bundy, and thereafter, you received a report back, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And if I can show this to counsel and approach the witness room. Two-page report. I'd like to mark this as the defendant's next in order.
I believe that's 1029.
29. I'll place a 1029 on this two-page report, Your Honor, that's labeled Los Angeles Police Department Scientific Investigation Division, Latent Print Section. 1029?
1029.
I'd like to place this two-page report before you, Detective Lange, and ask you to take a minute and take a look at that, first of all.
Okay.
Have you had occasion to see that report before today?
Yes.
And where have you seen that report?
One was forwarded to me.
And when did you receive it?
Gosh, it's been some time back. I don't recall. This particular one was probably a couple weeks ago.
All right, and with regard to that report, is that a report of the findings of the print technicians who dusted the areas you've described for the court and jury at the Bundy location?
To date, yes.
And with connection with that report, who is the print technician who did this work?
Who did the comparative work
Yes, the comparative work.
is Alvarado. Alvardo.
Alvardo?
Alvardo.
And so Alvardo, working under your direction, dusted these areas you've described for prints regarding Bundy?
No.
Okay, what
Maybe I should clear that up. Alvardo did the comparison work in the lab. The
Right.
dusting at the scene was done by 4 different persons.
Who were they?
Braggs, Duke, Udeshi, and Claiborne.
How do you spell those?
Braggs, B-R-A-G-G-S, Duke, D-U-K-E, Udeshi appears to be U-D-E-S-H-I, Claiborne, C-L-A-I-B-O-R-N-E.
As I understand it, then, these 4 individuals are like technicians. They're the ones who work at the field. They carry out your instructions, is that correct?
Yes,
They then take, after they make the collection of the latent prints, if any, they then take them downtown to the Scientific Investigation Division, is that correct?
yes.
Then a comparison is made by Alvardo, is that correct?
That's one of the things that, yes,
And then the report before you is the 2-page report, is from Alvardo, is that right?
that's correct.
And in the course of this, were you looking to determine whether or not Mr. Simpson's fingerprints were in any of these particular areas?
That's correct.
And what is the, counsel? And the report, you have a report as to whether or not Mr. Simpson's prints were in any of these locations, don't you?
Yes.
Maybe have a moment. Trying to avoid a sidebar.
Yes, with both of this. All right, Mr. Cochran.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to ask you a few other questions about this particular document. this, you asked to have a number of individuals compared, I presume, to see if you could locate their prints inside Bundy. Is that correct?
Term we use is eliminated.
Eliminated.
Yes.
You sought to eliminate certain individuals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us what subjects, if any, you sought to eliminate as having their prints inside the location?
All LAPD personnel at the scene, all civilian personnel at the scene, family members, any friends that we find may have visited the scene at one time or another. Just basically all persons who have had access to that scene.
Well, let's, okay, you've given us some names. Was Mr. Simpson one of the people you sought to see if you eliminate?
That's correct.
All right. Was Mr. Cowlings one of the people you sought to see if he was eliminated?
Yes.
Was Mr. Marcus Allen one of the people you sought to see if he was eliminated?
I don't believe so. I don't have any record of that.
And in making a determination of whether or not anybody else you can recall was, well, let me ask you this question. Was Faye Resnick a person that you sought to eliminate?
Yes.
What about Robin Greer?
I don't recall if we ran Robin Greer's prints or even had her prints.
What about Cora Fishman?
We did not get Cora Fishman's prints.
Anyone else that you can recall that you sought to eliminate as having prints at the Bundy Street location in the analysis that was done? It's depicted on
There were
29.
There's a list of names, several names on a list. I don't have that in front of me.
Can you get that pretty readily for us?
I can check here.
See if you can get that without too much delay. By the way, while you're doing that, may I ask you a question or two?
Certainly.
What are you referring to there?
This is my murder book.
Is that your homicide book?
Yes, that's one of them.
Okay. And so how many books do you have? Homicide books do you have?
In this case,
Yes, in this case.
4 or 5.
And so
Just
over
whether,
lunch hour, if we ask you to look for something, you're going to look in your homicide books to try and find it?
if I think it's in here.
All right. And those are originals, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
This list may be with, was compiled by the Layton Print Unit, and that's perhaps the ones who still have it. This is an ongoing process where they're adding to it every time we come up with another name. So I am not certain that I would even have that ongoing list.
All right. Would it be easier for you if we put that on the list for lunchtime? You took a look at lunchtime?
Wouldn't be easier, but I'll do it. Oh,
Well,
here it is here. I'm sorry, I do have it.
it's one less thing to do. Can I look at that with you?
Yes, this is appears to be a partial list. Persons run and eliminated. The current list, the ongoing list would be maintained by the print unit, and I don't believe all the names would be on there.
All right. Now, this list that you have here, do you mind if we mark this?
How about if we have a photocopy made of it?
Please.
Was the
I guess you do
detective?
mind, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll get the clerk to make a copy of it, and pass it. While we're waiting to do that, is that a complete list of everybody, including Mr. Simpson?
Once again, I don't believe it is. I think there's an ongoing list maintained by the print unit.
All right, but at the lunchtime, can you also check to see if you have any other lists? Is that the only one you have at this point?
I believe it's the only one, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, but so we're clear, what you're trying to do here is to eliminate certain individuals' fingerprints, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's an actual list of the individuals who have been eliminated at this point that comes out of your homicide book, is that right?
The list would be those who are eliminated and the ones who are made on prints.
All right. And so that we're clear, you did in fact make some individuals on the prints, is that correct?
Yes.
In fact, you made some police officers, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor. He didn't
Sustained.
make anybody.
Sustained.
Well, the,
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel.
Sustained.
well, I haven't asked the question yet.
Next
The,
question. Next
the,
question.
you objected to the? Okay. Let me see if I can state a question. There are individuals who were not eliminated, and you have the names of those individuals, is that correct?
Yes.
And on that list of people who were not eliminated, would there be some friends of Mr. Cole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
And would there be police officers on that list also?
One police officer.
Would he be a detective?
Your Honor, take objection.
Sustained. List
Mr.
is,
Strike? Counsel can call a principal.
no, sustained, Counsel.
May I mark these as, we have a copy, we'll give him the original back. May I mark this as 1030, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's a two-page document.
I think that's mine. Is that my original?
Maybe, that's yours. I thought I had a copy, but there.
You may.
You have your copy back?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I'll mark this two-page as 1030.
All right, 10:30, but Mr. Cochran, this is not the person who did the comparison.
I understand, Your
All
Honor.
right,
Now,
thank
with
you.
regard to 1030, so we'll make it clear for the record, Your Honor, what this is. Tell us what 1030 is.
1030 is a partial list entitled Homicide Worksheet of police personnel whose prints were compared to print lifts made at the Bundy location.
All right. And who is the person who can come in here and tell us what the findings were, who was eliminated, and who you found prints of? Who's that person?
Well, there are probably several, depending on when the information came in. Alvarado, I believe, would be one of them. Some of this work is done on day watch, and some may be done on night watch. I think the best way to tell would be to contact the print supervisor for that information.
The print supervisor?
Yes, the supervisor of that unit.
Do you, I was asking you some questions yesterday and this morning with regard to lividity being present on First Nicole Brown Simpson. And you remember you indicated that you didn't recall any. Remember that?
I don't recall any marked lividity.
And by the way, with regard to Mr. Goldman, do you recall any lividity on his body?
He was clothed. I wouldn't have observed any.
Well, in order to take the liver temperature, didn't they have to raise up his clothing? The scene there?
To that area, yes.
Did you see any lividity then?
I don't recall seeing anything that stood out to me.
Would it refresh your recollection to see a document with regard to that from the coroner's office?
Certainly may.
Okay, I'd like to mark as the next exhibit 1030, is it?
10:31.
1030. It's a two-page document.
10:31.
1031. It's a two-page document, page 2 and 3, and I'd like to show it to counsel.
All right. With the court reporter, please. You may.
I want to show you a document that's been marked as Defendant's 1031. It's a two-page document. And I want to ask you, on the question of lividity, whether or not you'll read the two paragraphs. By the way, the two decedents were given different coroner's numbers, were they not?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to read two separate paragraphs, if you would.
This and this.
This one and this one.
Okay.
And I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you read those? Read both paragraphs now? Sorry,
Yes.
take your time.
Yes.
And does the review of this particular document, investigator's report, refresh your recollection as to whether or not there was lividity present and fixed in either one of these bodies?
No.
Doesn't refresh your recollection at all?
No.
All right. You were present when the autopsies were done on both individuals?
Yes.
And as you think back about your being present at that time, does that in any way refresh your recollection of whether you saw lividity on either of these bodies?
No, those observations would be made prior to the autopsy and probably my arrival. I don't recall making those observations.
All right. It doesn't refresh your recollection.
Not at all.
All right. Now, you received a call to respond to this homicide, as I understand it, sometime in the early morning hours of June 13th, 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who called you at that time, if you recall?
I believe it was a detective from detective headquarters, on-duty detective.
And do you remember what time it was that you received this call?
Approximately 3 a.m.
And I presume you were at home in bed at that point.
Yes.
And then you drove from your home in Simi Valley down to the location, is that right?
Yes.
And how long did it take you to get from Simi Valley to the location at Brentwood?
Perhaps 50 minutes, an hour. I don't know.
You arrived at the location at about 4:25 in the morning?
Yes.
And when you got there, Van Adder was already there, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And two of you had worked together for about 4 years prior to this particular time?
That's correct.
You became aware that you were taking this case over from two other detectives, is that correct?
Yes.
You'd never worked before with Mark Phillips or Furman, is that correct?
Mark Furman or Ron Phillips?
Or Ron Phillips. You had not worked before with him.
That's correct.
And once you arrived at the scene, you described for us how you were briefed and taken around the scene primarily by Phillips, is that correct?
Yes.
And in the course of that, you all had some conversations. When I say you all, I mean that you and Van Adder and Phillips and Furman had some conversation about what you had here, what kind of homicides these were and that sort of thing. Isn't that right?
Yes.
It's true, is it not, sir, that upon arrival at the crime scene, you were met by Detective 3 Ron Phillips, West Los Angeles Division Homicide Coordinator. That's correct, is it not?
He's one of the people, yes.
That Phillips stated to you that victim Brown was the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, the well-known athlete/actor, right?
I don't believe he stated that verbatim. I believe there was information that one of the victims appeared to be Mr. Simpson's ex-wife.
Well, maybe I can approach, and I'll show you 1021, Counselor. You've seen it. This is Defendant's 1021. I want to place this before you. That's what I want to ask you, and I can show you if you'd like. This is a report prepared by you and Van Adder. It's a continuous report in the homicide book, prepared under your direction and that of Detective Van Adder. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at it together. Does that report indicate that Phillips stated that victim Brown was the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, comma, the well-known athlete actor?
Yes, it does.
And did it say additionally Phillips stated that Mr. Simpson and victim 1 had been embroiled in previous domestic violence situations, comma, one of these resulting in the arrest of Mr. Simpson? Did the report say that?
Yes, it does.
Phillips told you that, didn't he?
Not at the particular time of my arrival, but he did prior to going to the Rockingham location.
All right. Well, he told you, and the report says upon arrival at the crime scene, you were met by Detective 3 Phillips, right?
That was meant to be the end of that thought, met by Detective Phillips.
Okay.
It was later on that he made that statement.
But he told you this before you went over to Rockingham, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And then it goes on to say Mr. Simpson resided at 360 North Rockingham Place in Brentwood, approximately 2 miles from the crime scene. Is that what it says?
That's what it says.
Now you wrote this, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And as an experienced police officer in writing this, you strive to be as accurate as possible, isn't that correct?
Yes,
That's what you did in this case, right?
that's correct.
And so before you went over to Rockingham, Phillips had told you already that Simpson had been embroiled in this previous domestic violence situation, resulting in O.J. Simpson's arrest, right?
That was a general statement,
I'm asking, did he tell you that?
not in that form, no.